My name is Roberto Velasco, and today we are going to talk about how to automate security in the software. Okay, so basically, one of the new realities today is that comparing with previous models, we are deploying application almost every day. Okay, most of them they are moving to the cloud, so it's a new scenario where we need to integrate security as well in those new scenarios. Okay, so and as well we need to cover scalability requirements in those new scenarios. Okay, so okay. So the solution in that new scenario, basically many of the new deployments is based on the integration of the security inside the applications, inside DevOps life cycles. So basically, this kind of concepts, they are well known as DevSecOps approaches. Okay. When we are talking about DevSecOps, basically we are talking about the integration of security features and procedures within the application and DevOps processes implemented in the organizations. Okay, so basically, what it means in practice, we need two things. We need metrics to measure the quality of the software that we are generating. And secondly, we need tools. I mean, DevSecOps is closely related to automation. I mean, if we are not automating the processes, the policies that we need to apply, it doesn't mean that it's DevSecOps, okay? Because the original concept of DevOps, it comes from the automation of systems and operations process. And now we are doing the same, but related to security, okay? So it's very close related to automation. If we look to issues within software security, we see that mainly there are two kinds of issues, okay? And each of one represents approximately the middle of the total problem, okay? In one part, we have that we call security bugs or syntax issues. I mean, they are issues that are detectable with tools and follow one specific pattern that is the same in all applications. And there is another part that it's called business logic flows or design flows that it's totally different comparing with the syntax issues. In that case, we are talking about specific issues of the business. Okay, for instance, an access control issue. An access control issue is specific to the business, so it's not possible to have tools that are able to detect this kind of issues. Okay, but it's important to understand that there are two parts. Okay, because in security, it's very common to only work with one of the parts, particularly the part of security bugs. But the part of design flows, it's the part that is really hard to solve, okay? Let's see now how we can improve, how we can automate those parts. As I said, starting with the security bugs part are syntax issues. Unfortunately, we have tools that are able to detect these kind of issues, okay? As you know, there is a category within application security that it's called application security testing or AST. And within AST, we have three different approaches. We have SAST, that is source code analyzers, tools that analyze source code. We have DAST, or web scanners, that makes requests to the applications in order to detect issues. And there is a new one that is called IAST, or Interactive Application Security Testing, that it's a mix between both. Okay, we have the dynamic view, and we have the static view. Okay, and we have many issues within the OWASP top 10 that probably you know about that are related to security bugs. Why we have a lot of security bugs issues within the OWASP top 10? Basically because the OWASP top 10 it's created by the information of the security providers and the community that mostly they generate data and issues related to this kind of risk. Okay, that's why within the WASP top 10 there are a lot of issues in that area. Okay, so how to solve or how to automate this part? The first step, and that's something that you should do in order. Okay, the first step is during the development. Use some AST solution, as much as possible a good solution, but at least one of them, okay, within the development. Secondly, define metrics and thresholds. I mean, we need to define which is the thresholds quality within the organization, and it must be verified by tools, okay, not by people, okay. So it's common that when you start in an organization using this kind of solutions, in the beginning maybe the quality thresholds should be lower, okay. And with time using this kind of tools, it's necessary to move to a higher requirements, but it's important to define those policies and apply within the organization, okay. Thirdly, when we are detecting vulnerabilities, the next step is to communicate those vulnerabilities to the developers. So if you try to do so manually, the problem is that you need people to communicate and you need people to handle that management, right? So if you are able to integrate security solutions with issue trackers and you report this information directly to developers, it's not necessary to do any management step, okay? So that's something that it's very interesting to implement. And lastly, it's necessary to monitor and protect production deployments. Okay, that's the last step that it's interesting to do as well. Okay. Regarding the different solutions within the detection area, we see that we have said that there are different kind of solutions. Okay, basically within detection we have SAST, DAST, and IAST, and using different tests to evaluate the quality of those categories. That there is one that is called OWASP Benchmark, that is a tool provided by OWASP to measure how good it's a detection solution. We see that source code analyzers, regarding detection level, they present a good level, but the problem is in the false positives. Okay, we have a good visibility of the vulnerabilities, but in many cases we got vulnerabilities that they are not real. Okay, so we need people to operate them, right? In the DAST case or web scanners, we are in the opposite case. Regarding false positives, it works very well. You don't have almost any false positive, but regarding the visibility or the accuracy, it's very low. Okay, about 20% of the vulnerabilities. Okay, and the approach that it's improving those issues is the most modern one approach, that is the IAST, where we are getting a good visibility of the vulnerabilities, but avoiding false positive. Okay, so that's important to understand. Depending the tools that you are using, the quality of the issues that you are going to see, it's different. Okay, so it's interesting to understand the typology of the solutions that you are using and which is the most appropriate tool for your environment. Okay. Secondly, we have the part of business logic flows. Okay, that part is the part where, unfortunately, there is no tool to detect this kind of issues. Okay, for instance, issues like access control. Imagine a web application where we have a URL with a parameter, an ID, and someone changed the ID of that parameter, okay, to see the data of another user. A very common attack that is very simple to fix once you have detected, but the problem is that there is no any tool to detect it by their own. Okay, we need people to detect these kind of issues, because actually these kind of issues are detected manually and fixed manually as well. Okay, so it's important to take into account these kind of issues. Regarding OWASP Top 10, as you can see, in that case we have fewer risk, but it doesn't mean that the problem is it's less important. I mean, we are talking about that this part is the 50% of the total problem, right? Even though there is no many examples within the WASP top 10. Remember that the WASP top 10 is just a top 10, not the total number of risks, right? It's a top 10. So we don't have to forget that there are many other issues that must be controlled, okay? Demo, okay, we will see the demo later in the end of the presentation, okay? So regarding business logic flows and how to solve this part, the reality is not easy to handle it, okay? In the security bugs part, it's relatively easy. You have a tool, you detect the issues, and if the development team haven't solved them, you stop the deployment to production, right? It's relatively easy to do so. But in that case, what's the procedure? It's not easy, okay? So even though it's not easy to automate the whole process, and we are not able to detect them, it's possible to automate the protection of these issues, right? And using solutions that can be integrated within the software development lifecycle, we can do it using a DevSecOps approach. I mean, it's not a solution deployed by security operations in production. Okay? It's something that can be deployed within the development environment, okay? Extending the frameworks and the solutions used by the developers. It's possible to implement protection solutions within the application and automate that protection, okay? So even though we are not able to detect them, we can measure and we can control the quality of the validations that we are performing, okay? By basically input validation. So the example that I have explained before regarding the parameter tampering, when we change an ID in a URL, in that case, if we are automating the protection, we are going to block this kind of attacks through the architecture, okay? So through the DevSecOps solutions that are possible to apply, okay? So that's the approach that we are recommending, and many of our customers are doing in production, okay? Okay, what's the solution for that? As you know, within the protection part, there is one solution that are web application firewalls, that is the mainstream in the protection field. In the case of protection, and in the best case, the WAF solutions offers learning processes, okay? They can infer what's possible or not within the applications, okay? Basically, they infer, they learn some rules. For instance, they know that some specific URL has only 2 parameters and maybe the typology of the parameters, but they cannot detect other kind of business logic flows. For instance, when we maintain a parameter typology and the size of the parameter, but we change one number for another number, these kind of issues are not blocked by a WAF, okay? So we have, in the best case, we have limitations that they are not protecting everything, okay? And additionally to that, related to the learning processes implemented by WAF solutions, it's very common to have false positive. Why? Because it's common to, first of all, you put the WAF learning, you have the WAF learning 3 months, 3 weeks, 1 month, and after that you get the rules, right? You get what's the normal behavior in an application. But what happened in practice, that if the applications change, the WAF is not able to see the difference between an attack or a change in the application, right? So imagine that it's a change, it's not an attack. So basically it's a false positive, and a false positive means that we are going to break the service, we are going to break the business of the application. So it's very rare to say, it's very uncommon to see WAFs with learning processes in production, because it commonly generates false positive, okay? Within the RASP approach, that in that case it's more closely related to DevSecOps, there are solutions that can implement this kind of protection, but in another way, okay? Using, in that case, instead of learning processes, doing that in real time. I mean, integrated in the software, in the technology, that technology get the information about what's the legal behavior of the application, but in real time without learning, and it's possible to protect of those issues without false positives. Okay? So there are approaches in that field that can help in that automation. Okay? So that's the summary of this part. I mean, it's necessary to automate the protection because it's not possible to automate the detection, and there are solutions that can help in that field. Okay, so the summary and the message of the talk. The first one is that security bugs or detectable issues, it's only the half of the total problem. Okay, so if you want to automate and protect your software system, it's necessary to cover both kind of issues. Okay. Secondly, we need tools. We need tools that works in all environments, not only in production. Okay. DevSecOps and automation, it's very related to have the same software, the same solution within all environments. Okay, so if we have those solutions integrated in all environments, we have integrated in development and QA, we go to production and it's running. Okay, there is no anything new in production. Okay, that's something that is not so common in security tools. Usually, most of them, or a part of them, an important part of them, are used only in production. Okay, so it generates in many cases integration issues, false positives, because the application meet the security in production. So that's something that it's very far from DevSecOps. Okay, because basically DevSecOps means that we have those solutions integrated in the whole software development life cycle. Okay, so that's the difference, and that makes possible to automate the protection of this kind of issues. Okay, so let's see now a practical example of both kind of issues. Okay, because we have been talking about the issues. Okay, so we are going to start first with the detection part. Okay, and in that part we are using a detection solution. In that case, it's an IAST. So with an IAST solution, we are able to browse the application, and as you can see here in the bottom of the screen, we are detecting the vulnerabilities. Okay. So for instance, in that case, we are detecting a vulnerability. But comparing with traditional or legacy approaches, we are able to see the dynamic and static view of the vulnerability with the same tool. Okay, we can see the URL and the parameter of the issue. Okay, we know the URL and we know the parameter, that is the column label, and we have the file and the line of the vulnerability. Okay, so we have the full visibility of the vulnerability. In addition to that, in that second case, there is another, there are two SQL injection vulnerabilities. One of them has a criticality of 9 and the other one of 7. Okay, that's an important difference. In the case of 9, we are getting the information from the request. Okay, so we are analyzing the traffic that comes from the internet, but there can be vulnerabilities that come from the database. Okay, that's something that with a web scanner we are not going to see, because the web scanner only analyzes the traffic from the request to the application. Okay, but not from the database to the application, right? So with this kind of approaches, it's possible to analyze all of them. Okay. Once we have detected it, it's possible to move to the code. Clicking in that link, we are able to see the code of the application. So it's possible to integrate the dynamic and the static view. And let's see now to see an example of business logic flows. Okay, so well, that's the information of the security bugs that we have seen. In that case, in the web console, the same information. Okay. So let's see now an example of business logic flow. Okay, an example that I have told before. We have a web application. In that case, it's a e-banking demo application. It's not a real bank. So first of all, we are going to perform an attack. We are going to change a URL. In that case, we have a number in that URL. And that's the example that I was talking about before. We have a number, we have the same size. We are not going to change the pattern, the format of that value. We are going to change the value of that number. For instance, using a different account number. I mean, imagine that I know the account number from another person, so I want to see the activity of that account. Okay. So if I change the value, okay, I am able to see the activity of this account. Okay, that's a very simple attack, but as I said, it's very difficult to fix it or particularly to detect them. Right now, I am going to activate the protection solution, so I put it running, and I am going to perform the same attack again. Okay, so we change the URL. We go to the dashboard, we go to the URL. And we change the value, right? Okay, we push go, and it doesn't work. Okay, in that case, the protection solution integrated into the application, it's able to detect the attack and report it to the web console. Okay, not only block, also monitoring, and we have the information about the user that is changing the value. Okay, so even though our application performs this kind of validation, so most of the validations, probably maybe you are not logging the activity. Okay, so if we know that some of the users, they are changing the URLs, they are changing the parameters, probably it's interesting information for the security team to analyze that user. Okay, so it's important to not only block and also monitor this kind of activities. Okay, so those are the examples of the tools that can be used during the software development lifecycle using DevSecOps and avoiding the security bugs and the business logic flows. Okay. Any question?
There is any question?